Hello, everyone. Today we have a very special guest, Anna Widmann, with us. She has multiple charismatic skills and she has a lot of information to share with everyone that applies to all of us equally without any discrimination of race, religion, region, or anything. So I would like to welcome Anna with you guys. And Anna, I'll leave the floor with you to introduce yourself, and then we can start with the special questions of light work.
Yes, thank you so much, Syed, for having me. I'm really excited. And I thank you so much for this open space. We talked about that before a bit. And before I introduce myself, I want to say, like, regardless of what we do, I think it's really necessary to remind ourselves that things happen for all of us regardless, and that the universal laws work regardless of what we believe, of what we are up to right now, what we're doing or not doing. So it's kind of like this coming all together to experience the same joy, the same. You mentioned the sun before, like the sun streams down on us, on each one the same, regardless of what we do. And I think this is like the basis work of everything I do. But within the last years, I've focused on spiritual mindset coaching, on like really combining what we just talked about, the mindset work, the shifts, the coming out of the limiting beliefs, out of this, let's call it the prisons that we make ourselves, but combined with using the spiritual laws, with understanding the spiritual nature and basis of everything. So it's not just like shift your mind to get your goals, but there is some deeper meaning behind it. That is something that I've like really felt called to do for about 7 years now. And what over time emerges is what we're talking about today, which is light language, which
Yep.
is a really special, really intangible cosmic practice that goes beyond logic. And I think, especially in the times we live in now, where everything is so logic based, this is somehow calling us out, but in the best possible way. So that's what I'm love doing, the light language channeling, because it speaks to the soul of the clients and not only quote unquote to the logical part of us.
True. I agree with that. And as they say, been there, done that. So I know what you're talking of. Okay. In all the excitement, you missed to introduce yourself, Anna.
About you know.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm Anna. I live in Munich in Germany, south of Germany with my family. And yes, as I said, I'm doing spiritual coaching since years. It emerged out of me kind of remembering the gifts that I had as a kid. But as a kid, I kind of noticed, like, other people aren't seeing colors, other people aren't seeing geometrical shapes everywhere. So I dimmed that down a lot. And only like in my late 20s, I kind of was forced to let that resurface. And that's when I started to really shift my belief on anything, to really see meaning behind things that I've seen before. And the works I did previous in fashion and jewelry and all this like beauty, beautiful stuff, it seemed totally unimportant as of in an instant, of course, because like I was having these like out of the matrix moment, and then things were like, okay, what are you doing here? What is this anyway? So I totally shifted from being the girl that kind of wanted to fit in everywhere because as a highly sensitive person, I'm super aware of the emotions and feelings of others, and I try to keep the harmony, to feeling that soul's calling that just needed to be expressed. And that was a real journey in itself. And that is also what I'm focusing on right now with my clients, to like really bring out the authentic expression with not needing to validate ourselves through what other people think of us. And that's quite a journey for so many of us. So that
Exactly.
is like really deep to my heart. And I think it's
Exactly.
very important. We do it, you do it too in your way, I do it in my way. I think it's like that's what the light work is essentially,
Right.
that we're helping others to come to the light and out of this shadow limitations we have.
Exactly. And I mean, like a couple of things that you have mentioned there, Anna, like again, something you mentioned that you were seeing symbols, geometries, and this and that. And honestly, it reminded me of something that I used to experience something like that ever since
Hmm.
I was a kid.
Yeah.
Okay. And as I was growing up, it reached adolescent around 12, 13, and I used to talk to my mom, and she used to say, what are you talking of, And that's the point, that's the point. Either it would make you or break you,
Yeah.
because if the one you're talking to is not listening or, or not paying attention, or it's not, trying to understand with you. And again, I won't say that she was wrong, but it's
Mhm.
more like, things that we don't understand fully, we tend to keep our kids away from it. So it's more of a safety precaution, basically, that we get from our parents, especially.
Mhm.
Okay. And, and as you are saying that you shifted your mindset from the point that, okay, you shifted your mindset from the point, okay, uh, I know this much. No, no, it is a broader picture, that, uh, and for myself, the more I know, the more I feel and believe that I don't know anything. And this is something that's literally happening to me. Like, I have done a lot of courses and all that. I've been into meditation for 20 years plus. So it's not
Mhm.
something that I did like 2 years, 3 years back, or I just started with it. No. And trust me, I have seen a lot. I've experienced a lot. I mean, like, sometimes you don't even need to be in deep sleep or dreaming or something to see something, because you can alter, or naturally, your brain frequencies, your visionary, blurred lines would actually shift in between.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that is something, one needs to experience instead of, telling them or trying to explain it more logically, because science has done a great job in doing a lot of things, but I would say it has taken us away from our true human nature as well,
Yeah.
in a great shift.
Yeah. I
So
think, sorry.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, like, that's something that I have experienced, you have experienced, and people like us. I mean, like, whoever we talk to or we discuss things with, even in workshops and all. So, sometimes you need to remind them their true nature, like, as a human, who you are. I always give them one example. Like, I would tell them, okay, for example, I would say burger or French fries or anything. Everyone would have some kind of feeling associated with it, because, and I always remind them, see, you never plan to actually remember what a burger looks like. But the moment I say it's there,
Mhm.
why? So there is something inside you that processes it, perceives it with very much accuracy, which your conscious brain or which your conscious self cannot apprehend or process it with that detail. So that's the energy, that's the secret, that's the you basically that we need to invoke to be, as some people call it, superhuman, some call it, self-awareness, some call it like, okay, now I am fully aligned with the universe. So I mean, like, anyone calls it as they want to call it, but this is something that's our true nature. So I remember a saying from a very wise man. It is said that whoever recognizes him or herself recognizes their creator.
Hmm.
So,
Beautiful.
because in the end, you need to get connected with the one, right? With the universal law, with the universal power. So, Anna, let's start with the basic questions then to our subject. Otherwise our discussions can, go
Endless.
open-ended, but it has to be contained considering the time as well for our viewers. So, again, by definition, what is light language? I would ask you. So,
So,
how do you define it, or how do you perceive it, or how a simple person who doesn't know this subject can understand this?
yeah. So I'll tell you my explanation of light language. There are very many different ways to describe it. The easiest way I found is a cosmic language that each of us, each soul can speak. Most of us are not aware of it, but each of us can. I'm deeply believing that. And it's a language that directly comes from the soul. So it's not a logic-based language where, like this word translates to this sound, or it's not like if you translate English to German, it's just not like that, although logic would like it. So it's a communication that comes from the soul and directly speaks to another soul. And the way I am able to visualize it, it's like me being in a meditative state and information just streams down. It's kind of a download, and I see like a lot of like geometric shapes. I see like forms changing. It feels like a really beautiful time traveling that you would maybe see in some sci-fi movie. And this information, first, it didn't make any sense. It was just there. It was beautiful. But like after a time, I kind of adjusted my frequency to it. I was able to like download these blocks and kind of translate them into sound. And the sound is what is called the light language. So light language is coming in the form of sound that sounds maybe like gibberish. It doesn't have anything to do with a logical explanation. It sounds kind of funny sometimes. There are these hand movements that are activating light codes that I can see and I can kind of translate unconsciously in that meditative state through hand movements, which you could compare a bit to like practices like Reiki or any energy healing that you do with your
Mhm.
hands and the electromagneticity of them. And then there are these written light codes, which look like maybe a bit like hieroglyphs. And all of these you can do together or separate. It kind of depends for me, it depends on the topic. But what is like the underlying baseline of those is that they activate something within the other one that lays dormant. I often see it because I can see it. I can see like in your physical form, I can see forms changing. And these activations, you might have memories out of it. You might have insights out of it. You just might have a different feeling in your body. It really depends on how you are. And the beauty about that is I'm using it a lot for reprogramming limiting beliefs, a lot for like
Mhm.
coming out of this like box that we put ourselves in. And that works very well because logic is not involved. So your logical mind can tell you like, oh no, that's not true. Because if you use affirmations and you say like, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich, but you aren't, your logic says like, no, you're not rich. You're really poor. And this can't happen with the light language communicating from the soul to the soul. And so it has the soul's wisdom, which has the connection to the infinite God, universe, however you want to call it. But it comes like directly from that limitless place. And
Exactly.
it, yeah, it kind of transforms and communicates to that limitless place and the other person. And that is a communication beyond logic. So to summarize it, it's the hand movements, it's sounds that activate certain frequency, and it's the drawings. And yeah, it's like really intuitively used to what every person needs at exactly that moment and can switch really fast.
Okay, Anna, so as I was saying, is it something that a person is born with, or they can get some kind of attunement, some kind of, meditative vibrations and all to be able to understand light language?
Mm. I think it's both actually, because I truly believe we all have that ability. We are born with it. It's just laying dormant because we have maybe never heard of it, or we just don't have the awareness right now. So, yes, we are born with it. And the activation can happen through like very different processes. So, me, I was activated by someone who spoke it and I was just listening to it. And it was like nothing really dramatic. It was not intentional. I was listening to a YouTube video of someone who I'm like following for years. And suddenly I was like, oh, I can do that too. And my body just remembered in an instant and I was able to speak it. I know a lot of friends, healers, coaches who are actually like offering programs to people to kind of get attuned, like you said, where they're leading them through more of a step-by-step process on how to remember. And I think it depends on the level of your awareness, the level that your light body has already developed, your energetic field is stated at the moment. And it can be instant. It can be something that comes first in just like the hand movements. Maybe you're doing. I know a lot of people who are already doing the hand movements, but they don't have any idea what it is. So they just think like, I'm loosening up some muscles. So it really
Right.
depends. And I think it's the awareness. But yes, everyone can learn it. And close proximity to someone who speaks it is definitely helpful.
Right. So again, like as I would say, the concept of light work, basically how you're explaining it, because I have studied multiple, I would say, knowledge areas, like how they say that it's your chi energy.
Mhm.
Some people say it's your auric energy, like in India or East Asia, they say it's your kundalini energy, basically. Okay. So again, what I have studied and understood by doing some kind of energy work myself, doing meditations and, even coaching people and all. So what I understood is basically it's the same thing we are born with. It's our true nature, but it's a matter of, how one observed it with their environment or how they observed it with their mindset or what minimal information that they had available at that time, and they just they draw a matrix on top of it.
Mhm. It's a lot about connecting dots, a lot about becoming
Exactly.
aware of things. But I
Exactly.
totally agree. However you call the energy, if it's Kundalini or Chi, for me it's just the same because it all comes down from the source above,
Exactly.
and we call it differently due to different environments we are in. But
Exactly.
it
See,
doesn't matter.
I mean, like Anna, it's just to make it very simplified. I would say it's like a prayer. You know, no one
Agree.
sees the prayer, but prayer has its effect. Everyone accepts this.
Yes.
That whenever you are praying, the prayer has an effect. Okay, so I would say this is just like a prayer, you
Yeah.
know, that brings you something which is not something that you can see, and it gets translated into physicality for sure.
Right, of
Because
course.
what do people pray for? Health, wealth, family, good relations, right?
Mm.
This is what they pray for. I mean, like these are the 3 or 4 dimensions basically all humans move around. I mean, like I personally haven't seen any person. Of course, there would be people, but I personally haven't met or seen anyone who would say, "Oh, I want to be a saint, make me a saint." I've never seen anyone
Me
like
neither.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, because we'll just keep it more as practical as possible for everyone to understand, to relate with. Fine. So again, Anna, you told us about like what the light language is and how one can adopt to it, but what will be the uses of these? How one can use all of these? What will be the use of light language? Is it something like curing some illnesses, some diseases, or is it like, you know, something else that we can do with it?
You can do with it whatever you want because it's like you said, I love the analogy of prayer. It's some form of meditative prayer, and this can be directed to whatever outcome you want. So I vary from using it just because I need to like release a little bit of stress. Because
Mhm.
the energy when doing a light language or when receiving it is feeling really calm, really peaceful. It's a reconnection to the self. So let's call it the well-being aspect. That's something that I use it for daily because it makes a big difference in daily life. But then you can use it to receive activations because these light language activates things, codes, frequencies within you. You can use it for shifting limiting beliefs. You could use it for, I do a lot of confidence work that combines other practices with the light language. So you can use it for that as much as you can use it for healing. There are the quantum healing codes that work kind of in a similar way where you repeat numbers and people think like repeating that number helps them with their heartache or with their skin issues or with whatever. And the light language is basically the same. So it's about your intention and the intention of the one who's activating the light codes in that moment. If you don't do it for yourself, so I use it a lot when I have headaches or when there's some other physical challenge that I have. And the results are kind of the same because it all comes down to this feeling of, oh, I'm in alignment. I feel aligned with
Right.
source.
Hmm.
And that is bettering everything, you know? So it's like the same result. It's more like from
Hmm.
which angle do you come from? Is it a limiting belief that you want to work on? Or is it your shoulder pain, which might be having the same source? And the
Exactly.
cure is always the coming back to self.
Fine. Because Anna, like the other day, I was just going through some text, which was clearly stating, that as a human, we don't have one body. We don't have one body. It's like our physical body. Then we have a layer of emotional body. Then comes our auric body, and then, our spiritual body. So it's the layers. And again, the one in the middle, the emotional body, basically that affects both physical and spiritual side of it also. Because it's the same thing, if you're taking a stressor and you're continuously thinking about something, you will have a physical ailment of headache, or you may have your blood pressure rising. Okay. And how it would damage your, I would say, the auric body, your aura gets distorted. Okay. And
Mhm.
even your spirit body or your soul, that would have an impression. So the entire brightness that it has, the light it has, it dims because of that feeling. So from my personal experience over the years and what I have analyzed, honestly, your response, your emotional connect, or, you know, how you emotionally perceive something or process something, that affects everything. In the end, it's intention, right?
Yeah.
The intention would affect everything. Either it would make it or break it, or it would align it, or it would disalign, disorient it immediately.
There we are at
Okay.
the universal laws, aren't we? That intention is like just the way we communicate with
Yeah.
everything around us.
Exactly. And I do recall reading a couple of things in history where, not even just in history, but even now. And like sometimes it may happen that you would look at someone, or someone may look at you, even in the family. They would look at you and you would understand what the other person wants or is trying to say, because that totally depends on connection. And the deeper
Yeah.
connection you have universally, that you are connected, you are aligned with the universe, you would practically start to understand everything. Because another concept that we were doing earlier, like with another group actually, because I do some breath work as well. So from the breath work also, the science says, the moment you can control your breath, that you would breathe once in a minute,
Mhm.
practically you would understand everything that the universe is saying.
Wow.
Because we start from like 13 minutes and we start reducing it downwards. Like, sorry,
Mhm.
13 breaths per minute, and we start reducing it downwards. The moment you reach at 4 breaths per minute, 3 breaths per minute, literally you can just put your hand on a tree and you would understand what the tree is saying. If passing animal is there, you can just look at the animal would look at you, you will be able to, sync in some way. So you totally become aligned, the unification frequency, it starts from there. Again, there are multiple ways. Like I know breath work is one of them. Attunement is one of them. Again, doing meditation and being in meditative states, that's also another one. And also, I have my personal experience with that also, because I like over 22 years, I've experimented with multiple things. Okay. So even if you just start eating raw food,
Yeah.
fruits and vegetables in their actual nature, not cooking them even.
Mhm.
And your understanding, your enlightenment, your body alignment would be miraculous with nature.
So many ways, isn't it, to get
Ex-
there? It's
Exactly.
beautiful.
But you just need to adopt. And I would say it's in the end, it's practice. Like
Yeah,
knowing something is just information. But if you practice it, it becomes knowledge, and over time it becomes wisdom,
agreed.
right? So again, Anna, like if you would like to give one message for people who are not aware of light work, what do you suggest? What do you advise them? How they should start, or how they should, I would say, why, how they should start and why they should start, I would say. Let's keep it
Mm.
simple.
Let's keep it simple. So the why is, I think, really easy because it makes you feel like you. It makes you come back to yourself. And this feeling of well-being is, I think, what every one of us searches
Right.
for. So many different forms. So this like reconnecting with the self, that's my biggest why for why I started
Mhm.
when I became aware of the light language because it makes me just feel good. And that ripples out into every other branch of my life,
Mhm.
from me being not stressed with my family to me being more successful in my business to me being healthier. So the why is always like the well-being, and the
Mhm.
how, I would say, see where you feel drawn to. If it's like which it is, it could be Reiki, it could be light language,
Mhm.
whatever it is that you feel drawn to, that your soul calls you to do right now, that desire is there for a reason, because that is most likely the path that would promote your well-being the most to follow. So follow whatever nudge you have and immerse yourself in that environment. If you love meditating, then listen to meditative audios or go to a meditation class. If you want to learn light language, then listen to someone who speaks light language, who activates you in that way, and just keep them close. It could be virtually, or it could be like physically, but like immerse yourself in the environment you're in, and then you will see that the dots just connect. And the how is so
Right.
different for all of us. But I think the start is always like to go to where our soul wants us to go, to follow that calling. And then from there, the universe just gives you the next piece and the next
Agree.
piece and the next piece. And then suddenly you have that light
Agree.
language activated without, any effort to say.
Exactly. Exactly. And one of my masters, he used to say that I would never tell you what I have given you or what I have taught you or where you have reached. I will never say that. You would never be told that, but you will see that where you have reached.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and again, that was a very, very, very wise say
Mm,
and words from him. And that you won't know what I have given you, but you would see what I have given you or where you have reached with it. And again, it amazes me every day, every time, even when I meet people who are really into different, I would say, not the physical dimension, but in the other dimension, who are into energy healing, spirituality, even like from any religion, I would say. So the respect that they give me while I'm with them or communicating with them or discussing things with them, it always reminds me of those words.
mm,
You would never be told what you are given, but you would see what you have been given.
mm. Thank you so much for sharing. This
Okay.
is truly beautiful.
Okay.
Mm.
So, Anna, I mean, like it was a great discussion that we had. Happy to have you with us and hope to have you again someday with us. If in a very short message, if people would like to reach you, how they can reach you. Of course, we will tag you in our channel, your Instagram handlers, and if there's any other channel that people can approach you with, please do let us know.
Yes. So Instagram is really good. Apart from that, I am on YouTube doing a podcast myself to present, similar to you, different ways of
Mhm.
reconnecting with the self. So that's always a good way to reach out those both. And
Right,
I thank you so much for having me for the conversation, which like felt so beautiful to me as well. And
right.
thank you for your energy and your time. I
Well,
hope we do that again.
same here. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.